The eagerly awaited and game-changing A-29 Super Tucano warplanes are finally in Nigeria. The Nigerian Air Force announced the arrival of the jets in Kano from the United States. They were received by the Minister of Defense, retired Major General Bashir Magashi, and service chiefs, with reports that 1,031 people got killed across the country in June alone. Underline that. Nigerians can't wait for the eventual deployment of the warplanes and change in fortune of the war against insurgency and banditry. Zamfara State with 275, Kebbi with 93, Niger State 91 topped the chart of killings across the country last month. Babajide, just in June. Before we talk about these killings, let's talk about this Super Tucanos, and they are around now. And I know that before the arrival, what we had, we've been deploying our small resources and we've been fighting banditry. Yes. But you know, a lot of this war were just underreported or not reported at all, best to the knowledge of the Nigerian military. But they've been deploying what we had, and they've been killing bandits and fighting bandits. Right now, this is like a stilt Tucano warplanes. It's going to go a long way, 6 of them, to boost that fight against banditry.
Yes, banditry and Boko Haram insurgency. Because I'm sure they are not going to be deployed against bandits alone. In fact, the original goal of bringing them was to fight
Boko Haram. As at that time, yes, banditry had not...
We never knew that banditry would become greater than Boko Haram.
Honestly.
Now, when I saw Kebbi, 88 people died in one day. I remember that day. So I'm not surprised that Kebbi had that number. 88 persons were killed in one day. So Zamfara too, 275 in 1 month. I'm certain that it's greater than that, because the rate at which bandits have been killing people in Zamfara is really worrisome, especially in the local government of the governor, Maradon. Been killing people in those areas as if people don't matter, as if human beings are just as worthless. The lives of human beings are as worthless as that of ants. So we've looked forward to the receipt of these Super Tucanos. We had sent out pilots to train on the Super Tucano. We sent out technicians to train on the Super Tucano. The Americans have been here to help us build the hangar where they will be kept. So we've been preparing for this for so long. And when you look at since when President Trump gave that order, he brushed aside the Leahy law and allowed us to be able to buy this.
Out of that $1 billion.
If it was Obama that was president, America would never sell Super Tucano to Nigeria. Because Obama cited Leahy law and frustrated the Goodluck Jonathan administration, stopped them from buying weapons. Even the one that we wanted to buy through the black market, the Chinook helicopters, that we could use both as for troop insertion and for ground attack, he stopped it. The moment he got to know that we were going to buy it from their third party, there is an agreement that you can only sell to a third party with the consent of the original manufacturer. The Trump administration blocked it. So Trump frustrated our efforts to defeat Boko Haram early, because at that early stage, if we had deployed all our resources, our strengths, Boko Haram will probably not exist till this day.
So this is what we've been waiting for. Very small.
But it took Trump. Yes, it's just for one. What is important is not the size of the aircraft.
It's not the size, but
it is the weapons that it has. Yes. Now those you can see that is where the munitions is bombs are hung. If you have a very small aircraft that can carry a 2,000-pound bomb, it's good enough. The damage that 2,000-pound bomb can do is monumental. So it's not the size. It's a small propeller aircraft with just a pilot. So it will be small. Even the F-16s too are not big. The F-16s, they are not big. You know, so it will still do the kind of damage that we want it to do, because the advantage that this warplane has is the precision. The precision with which it delivers its munitions. So, and that precision is what we need. Because when an airplane flies low, sometimes it is because it wants to be sure that the weapon that it delivers his target and causes maximum damage. But with an aircraft
like
that has accuracy, that has
so you don't have precision. To fly low.
Yes, you don't have to fly that low to the point that you are within the range of an aircraft,
that they can use anti-aircraft to catch
the aircraft gun, you know, against you. So that is the thing. The plane that came down must have been flying low within the range of the anti-aircraft gun that was fired at it. So with this one now, once you deploy this, they do that damage, they soften up the target, you can now bring in the helicopters. The helicopters will help you to finish the job. So that is for me, that's why I said I would prefer that we get more of those helicopters.
Like
because
Apache.
I can tell you that the Apache, I'm not sure America will sell Apache to us, but the Apache, if you get the Apache, for example, you can be flying in Ibadan and destroy a target here in Lagos.
120 kilometers.
Yes, its range is within that. So your life of the pilot is safe, because it's not even to go near the enemy before deploying his weapons. That's the advantage that these things have. America, they are now these days, they concentrate on all those stealth fighters. You won't even see them. Your radar won't pick them up. But it won't stop them from delivering damage. The F-35, for example. You won't even get a chance to shoot it down.
Wally, I'm happy that the war against banditry and insurgency with these Super Tucanos, it's like it has gotten a boost.
Yes, I think first of all we need to, like Babajide has said, the capacity of A29 Tucano is amazing. It's one of the fastest area combat machine with about 560 kilometers per hour. And like Babajide said, precision guided bombs can be delivered. And what that means is that if you are operating in an urban area, you can choose your target and you are going to minimize civilian casualty. And then it has 20 mm cannon that can fire 360 rounds per minute. And then we have
a cannon like a machine gun.
Yes, that can fire 350 rounds per minute. And then there are 12.7 mm machine guns that can fire 3,000 rounds per minute. And then the combat radius is 300 nautical miles. It has air-to-air missiles and air-to-ground missiles. So I think Nigeria is good to go. It can find its own range on its own, and then it can capture movement of troops from far distance, relay the picture back to the control room, so that then it can give cover to the ground troop, so that when it does its own damage, the ground troop can move in. So I think it's going to be a game changer. However, there are other conditions that the operating environment, because fighting insurgency is not just about air alone. The ground force, intelligence gathering, then the remuneration and welfare of officers, the morale of the fighting force, then training. So those things are very important. But I think there should be a kind of a change in narrative in the next few months from what we have been able to secure.
And the good thing is part of the package includes training and even spares.
So
that we need the spares so that we can change spares constantly, because the more you fight, the more you need to freshen up some parts of the aircraft. So the good thing is that the package included all of that, and our people have been there, trained. Our technicians have been there, so
we also gathered that
good to go.
The last 6.
No, because it's a light aircraft.
Okay.
If the surface is hard, it doesn't need an airfield.
Yeah.
It can land anywhere.
Just
land on hard surface, and then you can then pick whatever it wants to pick.
I said the last batch.
Yes.
We arrive at somewhere
Before
around
the end
October.
of the year. Before the end of the year.
6.
So give and take. Maybe just before, let's say before the end of the year. Now this
by the time you have 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
These ones, we are hoping that they will be inducted sometime next month. And when they are inducted, they can go into battle. Immediately they'll be inducted. The Air Force has not announced to us when they will be officially inducted. I know that the president will be there, by God's grace, will be there as well. So we can't wait for this induction ceremony to happen so that this airplane can go into battle.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Maybe we are connected. We are going to be joined by retired Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, joins us from our Abuja studio for more insight on this. Thank you for joining us, retired Group Captain Sadiq Shehu. Yes, from our Abuja studio. Now
Hello, good afternoon.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
What's the advantage of this A-29 Super Tucano warplanes will be to our war against insurgency and banditry?
Why is it such a game changer?
Thank you very much. Yes, when you are talking about military aircraft, I always like to draw analogy with a housewife that is married to a very rich man. If you go to her kitchen, for example, you will see different sets of knives. You will have the one that is for cleaving, the one that is for filleting, the one that is for boning. That is to say, for every task, she has a knife that she can use. It's the same thing. If a wife is not well endowed, you will find her with only one knife, which she will use. It's the same thing with military aircraft. There are different kinds of military aircraft. Apart from the dual classification of fixed wing and helicopters, even within the fixed wings, you have fighters, you have reconnaissance aircraft, you have air ground attack, you have air superiority aircraft, you have air interdiction aircraft. For a country that is well endowed, it can afford to buy for its Air Force every type of aircraft for every specific mission. However, the reality is, for economy and technological things, countries mostly in Africa, they can only use what they have. They cannot afford to have everything. I am putting this premise to know that since the counterinsurgency started, not only the Air Force, even the Army and the Navy, and it is the same with almost every armed force in the world before the arrival of counterinsurgency or asymmetric warfare. The weaponry is aimed at conventional warfare. That is one country attacking one country. Now, when counterinsurgency came in, the search started for an aircraft that will be specifically fitted for counterinsurgency. This search started in the US in 2009, after their experience in Afghanistan, Iraq, and the rest. They found that the F-15, the F-16, the A-10s they were using, they are not specifically suited to fight dispersed, lightly armed insurgents. So what did the United States Air Force do? They launched a competition calling on all arms manufacturers, both within the US, including some companies in Italy, to bring out an aircraft that will be suited for counterinsurgency. They've, of course, designed their criteria. They want an aircraft that can take off from rough surfaces. It doesn't need a very clean airport. They want an aircraft that has endurance. Endurance, I mean how long an aircraft can stay in the air after taking fuel once without air-to-air refueling. They want an aircraft that has a range of nothing less than 1,500 kilometers. Range, that is to say the maximum distance that the aircraft can cover after taking one aircraft. They also want an aircraft, because they want it to fly low, they want an aircraft with turboprop engine, as opposed to jet aircraft that normally fly very high. They also want an aircraft that will give the pilot, since the pilot is going to fly low, it's a balancing thing. He's going to be within range of small arms and light weapons. So they want an aircraft that will give the pilot some sense of protection by armor plating. So they lost this competition, and about 7 aircraft from different manufacturers entered into the competition. By the end of 2011, it was announced only 2 aircraft, the Tucano and the 88 Beechcraft, have been qualified, that they have met all the criteria that the United Air Force sent. Eventually, by the end of 2011, the Tucano aircraft was adjudged as the best aircraft that can meet all this. So I am giving this to see that in selecting the Tucano aircraft, actually the leaders of Nigeria, they did very well. The military advised very well, because it has not been like that in other purchases. Sometimes we purchase things that actually our Air Forces do not need.
Yes.
Now, people may ask, what has the Air Force been using for the counterinsurgency? Like that woman that has only one knife to do everything in her kitchen, that's what the Air Force has been doing. That is the reality. We have been using basically the Alpha Jet and the Chinese F-7 to prosecute the war. But these are fast jet aircraft. They fly very high, 10,000 to 15,000 kilometers. They are jet engine, so they cannot operate low. They don't have endurance. The highest endurance you can get from the Alpha Jet, that is when you fly high, is 3 hours, 30 minutes. So you can imagine if Alpha Jet moves from Kaenji to Maiduguri, by the time he arrives, you can subtract the hours, the minutes it's west, and it can stay only. It has to also calculate the time it will take it to go back. So this is normally what we have. The aircraft will arrive, but it cannot stay long. When you talk of that endurance, what does the Tucano has? The Tucano can fly in the hands of a good pilot. The Tucano can give you 6 hours, between 6 hours 30 minutes and 8 hours 24 minutes. So that is to say, from whichever part of Nigeria the Tucano flies to where the action is, you can be sure of getting 3 hours of action, and that is what the troops on the ground need. The F-7 we have been using cannot even give you 2 hours. But they say necessity is the mother of invention, so that's what that's what the Air Force has been doing. In addition, it is good for Nigerians to know that the Alpha Jet, which I must say has served Nigeria very well, is an aircraft that was purchased in 1979, and for lack of anything better, we have been using for the counterinsurgency. The Alpha Jet is out of production. From Germany, where we bought it, since 1992, that aircraft is no longer in production. What does that tell you? It means you can, with your money now in the market, you cannot get the spare parts for the Alpha Jet. Again, we have to acknowledge the effort of successive Nigerian Air Force leadership in collaboration with local industries like Innoson. I know the Air Force have been able to fabricate some, not all, of the Alpha Jet spare parts, and it is through this innovation only that Air Force has been able to fly the Alpha Jet up to today. But no matter our innovation, the days of the Alpha Jet are gone because it is no longer in production. So when you look at this background, you will see that the Tucano, in terms of range, in terms of endurance, in terms of protection for the pilot, you spoke about an aircraft being shot down recently. The Tucano, the cockpit is protected by Kevlar armor. The cockpit, so the pilot and the engine are covered by that armor. That means small and light weapons cannot penetrate through it. Again, another advantage that the Tucano has, it is the only aircraft so far that Nigeria has bought that can launch standoff attack. At a distance of between 8 to 11 kilometers, the Tucano can launch its weapon and hit its target once it's locked on the target. That means at 8 kilometers, the Tucano, using some of its armaments, can hit you without you even hearing or seeing the aircraft because it's about 8 kilometers away. This is very important because, again, like you said, you have to think of the protection of the pilot. We don't want one man with a catapult to shoot down our expensive aircraft. So you can stay back and shoot from a range once you lock on the target. If you have to come forward, the armored cockpit will give you some protection. And in case the pilot needs to eject, the Tucano also has a 0-0 Martin Baker ejection seat. This is probably one of the best ejection seats you can have in the market. At any altitude, the pilot can eject, and then he can be assured of landing safely. Another advantage of the Tucano, it has an onboard oxygen generating system. You know, when fighter pilots fly above 10,000 meters, the oxygen is very rare there, and they need supplemental oxygen. In the Alpha Jet we used to have before, we used to use liquid oxygen. But the Tucano, by some innovation, once you own the engine, automatically the engine has a way, it also produces oxygen. So for the comfort of the pilot, that is very important. Another ergonomic I find in the Alpha Jet is that, in the Tucano, is that the design of the cockpit is made in such a way that whether a male pilot or a female pilot, will be comfortably seated in that aircraft. Finally, you always talk of armaments. It can carry a variety. In fact, in its class, it is the only aircraft that can carry 130 different configurations. Yeah. You want to carry bomb, you can carry. You want to carry missile, you can carry. You want to carry rockets, you can carry. You want to carry machine gun, all the hard points. It has 5 hard points that can carry these weapons. So in general, we can say, if we are able to have the pilots and that can fly this aircraft to its maximum level, if we are able to have the engineers that can adequately keep this aircraft afloat, I think the buying of the Tucano is a very reasonable thing. It is, if you are looking for a dedicated counter-insurgency aircraft, within the money that Nigeria can pay, Tucano is the aircraft. And this is attested by the fact that as we are talking now, over 20 air forces, especially countries that have counter-insurgency, they have bought the Tucano. It has been tested, battle tested. And going forward, please, I want to advise that the military and the political leaders, this is always what you need to do when you are going to buy any equipment, whether Air Force equipment, whether Army equipment, whether Navy equipment. How many people have bought it? The number of air forces that buy an aircraft tells you that the aircraft is good. How has it performed in actual battle? Tucano has been tested in Colombia. It has been tested in Philippines. It has been tested in Afghanistan. And especially in Colombia, in fact, the Tucano is credited with bringing the FARC rebels to accept surrender and negotiate with the Colombian government. The only thing we hope, like I said, is that the government will continue to support the armed forces, because it is important to do a very good analysis when you want to buy any equipment, so that you don't end up buying what the military does not need. And again, I have to commend the federal government, because in all honesty, those of us that military analysts, we are not particularly impressed when we see a country like Nigeria buying 1 aircraft or 2 aircraft or 3 aircraft. You don't buy aircraft like that. The least you can do.
Thank you for your comprehensive analysis.
So I am happy to see that.
Thank you for all of what you have said. And I have to admit, just as you said, that this was a very good decision taken at that time by the then Chief of Air Staff. I remember interviewing him at the Air Force base in Yola, and I asked, why Tucano? And he took his time to explain why they went for Tucano. I also asked him about the Apache helicopter, and he said recent wars showed that Apaches were lost in combat because it could be downed by even an AK-47 if it is targeted. So and it's very expensive. So this was a good decision that the former Chief of Air Staff took. A weapon that we need, that has been tested even around us in Mali. It's been tested in Mali, tested in Afghanistan, countries that are similar to us even in terms of vegetation. So we thank you so much for your insight, but we also think that we need some ground attack helicopters. What is your advice to government at this time, and what's your rating of the Mi-35P that we continue to use for ground attack operations?
In talking about security is too important to play politics with it. So honest, when we talk, we should talk of reality. Definitely, if you look at the kind of threats, whether you call it banditry, whether you call it economic sabotage in the Niger Delta, whether you call it all this kind of low asymmetric threats, it is basically a helicopter battle. You can imagine if in the 6 geopolitical zones, we have at least 3 or 5 helicopters dedicated to each geographical zone. What we're having now, whenever there is a problem, is an aircraft or an air asset that is taken far away that will have to fly to that area. Our reaction time is too long. It is too long because the reality is that we have very few helicopters. I don't want to be indiscreet to say how many helicopters we have, but the number is too embarrassing for the size of Nigeria, for the kind of challenges we are having. We need more and more helicopters. You call the Russian aircraft. Not only, even again, like I said, I made analogy of knives having different sets. The helicopters also have various capabilities. There are helicopters that can fly only in the daytime. There are helicopters that can fly both day and night. I think we should look for having night capability so that our forces can fight 24 hours a day. Right now, our night flying capability is very, very low. We have, I think, I don't want to say, but we have very few aircraft that can fly in the night. We need more helicopters, not only helicopters, we need helicopters that can fly day and night. Our troops have to be able to take the fight to the enemy day and night. Even resting, encourages an adversary to continue his fight. If you deprive him of sleep, I bring this, I like to call them the contractors were brought from South Africa towards the end of the Jonathan administration. What led to their spectacular success was what they call relentless pursuit. They had the capacity to pursue these people day and night, so that the sleep they want to do and wake up invigorated, you deny them that sleep. Sometimes it is out of sheer tiredness that a terrorist will stop. After fleeing, pursue, but you cannot do that if you can only fight in the daytime. We need to have flying capability. Please allow me to add one very interesting thing about the weaponry of the Super Tucano. It carries the most advanced precision, because you talk of precision. Precision, we need it, because if you remember, unfortunately, we have the accident in Ran. We have some accidents in Zamfara. We even have some accidents in Niger Republic where collateral damage occurred. So again, in such circumstances, where the enemy hides between civilians, whether it is bandit, whether it is Boko Haram, you need a precision. The advanced precision kill weapon system, which Nigeria ordered to be added to its own aircraft, is very effective in that. How do you know that a weapon is effective? In military terms, there's what we call circular aero probable. Circular aero probable, you look at an area like a circle. The APKAWS, which the Tucano carries, has a circular probable of 0.5 meters. What does that mean? If you shoot any weapon that is designed under the APKWS, if you shoot 100 of them, 50, at least 50, will land within a circle of 0.5 diameter. That is very accurate. And that's what you need. Because much as it is ideal to avoid completely collateral damage, the reality of war is that collateral damage cannot be wiped out completely. There will always be somebody at the wrong place at the wrong time. You will never have a field day where this place is saturated with only Boko Haram or with bandits. You may, but it's not likely to happen. So when you use this precision kill weapon system with 0.5 circular aero probable, you can be sure that what you aim is what you are going to hit. For example, 9 houses are in a cluster. With this APKWS, you can decide to pick only one house where you think the bad guys are, and then you will hit it, and you can be sure. Because again, the technology includes what is called small diameter bomb. Small diameter bomb. It's like you want to make a very small hole. Instead of carrying a very fat nail, you use a chisel, which will give you just what you need. So I think this is something that we need to. And finally, please, before I like to go out, I would like to ask all Nigerians, both those in government and not in government, to always make an analysis. Nigeria is not a rich country. If you don't make analysis of what you are going to buy for the armed forces, you may just fall into the trap of a dealer that wants to sell some useless aircraft, and you will end up having your armed forces having equipment in numbers, but not necessarily what they need. The way the decision was made to go for this Tucano, I want such decisions, such analysis to be done. And in this case, both the members of the executive branch and the members of the legislative branch, as well as the military leadership themselves, they must be able to advise. They must be able to have experts that will tell them, this thing, do we need it? Because if not, you will end up buying something that you really don't need. Thank you very much.
So much, Captain Siddiq.
Retired Group Captain Siddiq Shehu.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now Nigerians that they've heard so much about Super Tucano coming in. Now from Captain Siddiq, you can now know
everything that you needed to know about
everything has been broken down.
A big takeaway from that: the honesty to go for the right weapon.
Yes.
And
something
that's why,
need.
in my view, here Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar is a Nigerian hero. I described him as the best chief of air staff.
He's an ambassador now?
Yes,
Ambassador
to Chad. I describe as the best chief of air staff of his generation. The best I have seen. And one of these big decisions has really profited our nation. You can see the way the Group Captain Siddiq analyzed this was the sort of
perfect size, what we needed.
Warplane that we needed. You know, it is fuel efficient. It can be airborne, fighting for hours on end. You know, it does not guzzle aviation fuel like a lot of the Soviet era warplanes. All those MiGs. Somebody sent a message to me that why don't we buy MiGs? They may be very strong physically, but they consume a lot of aviation fuel. The world is moving away from all that.
Because of maintenance.
Yes. So now we have something that we need, but there are still other things that we need. We need drones. With the drones, we don't need there are unmanned area vehicles. You don't. The life of your pilot is not in danger.
To go and do surveillance.
And drones are made these days that are run on solar. Run on solar. They will be airborne for hours. Some can even be airborne for a whole month. They are making such drones now. So, just as he said, the Americans during the Gulf War, they were bombing the Republican Guard of Saddam Hussein round the clock. They denied them sleep. So by the time they wake up, they are not even ready to fight because they are weak.
Yeah. So this is small but mighty.
This is
good catch.
It's a great step taken, and we are waiting to see the impact.
Impacts. That's what. Impacts.